Hello, readers. Welcome back to Reading in the Middle, a podcast that celebrates the power of stories, the joy of reading, and the people who make it all possible. I'm your host, Annisha Jeffries. Today, we're talking about something that's changing the way kids experience reading. It's called Noah Text. If you've ever watched a child struggle to make sense of printed words or lose confidence after stumbling over a page, you'll want to lean in for this one. My guest is Sarah K. Blodgett, and she is the founder and CEO of Noah Text, an innovative reading format that's helping children and adults finally find comfort and confidence in the written word. Think of it like large print books, but smarter. Noah Text highlights critical word patterns right on the page, making reading smoother and more accessible, especially for those with dyslexia and other learning differences. It's a true game changer that's turning frustration into joy for readers everywhere. We'll talk about the inspiration behind Noah Text, the kids who inspired Sarah to keep going, and how she hopes this innovation will transform classrooms, libraries, and families across the world. Let's get started. Sarah, hi, how are you? Welcome to Reading in the Middle.
Hi, Annisha. How are you? I'm great, thank you, by the way.
I'm so happy to hear that. Thank you for joining me today. Sarah, you're an incredible person. And for our listeners, I'm familiar with Noah Text, which is an innovative text format. It's actually designed to help reading comprehension, and some have called it a real game changer for those who struggle to read the printed word. In a nutshell, what is Noah Text, and why is it so different?
So it's a specialized text, also known as a word-level scaffold, that you can apply to any font to show the critical word patterns, the structure of words in text. In a nutshell, it's showing syllables, highlighting them through bold and unbold, such as, let's say, a word like pancake. Pan would be bold, cake would be unbold. A word like important, it would be IM bold, unbold would be POR, and then TANT would be the bold. That shows the structure of the word, the syllable structure, and then we highlight the long vowel by underlining it, similar to an acute accent mark, which you find in many more predictable writing systems. So that helps students decode words more readily, especially students that struggle or striving to learn to read, or English is a second language for them.
Now, how did you come up with the idea of Noah Text?
So my son struggled to learn to read. He really struggled. I turned to a diagnostician and professor out of the University of Connecticut who recommended an explicit, systematic program attuning him to critical word patterns. Basically, patterns that were critical in a very systematic manner is how the curriculum worked. He did phenomenally well with it. And at the end, he was a solid fourth grade reader. However, I noticed he struggled with when reading higher level books, on his own. Every 20 words or so, or 15, 20 words, he'd come across a word he didn't know or recognize that readily. What do you do when you don't recognize a word? You slow down, you break it into parts, you decode it, and you move on. But if that's happening every 15, 20 words, that's just fluency. And if it affects your comprehension, it affects your, enjoyment of reading. So you just tune out to it. And a lot of kids go through this. You can teach children how to decode, but many kids and even adults aren't automatic with a lot of words. there are a lot of words in print that they're not using every day in their language. So they slow down. They have this disfluency. So years ago when this happened with my son, I took a pencil and I segmented the syllables in words I knew he would struggle with. And it was amazing what it did. I went in his books and it did that. And it got him over the hump of fluency and enabled him to read wonderfully. And so this goes back years. I mean, my journey started 23 years ago with my son who struggled to learn to read. So this goes way back. So when I did this, I thought, someone should put this technique in books. And the idea stayed with me forever. I was, involved in, I researched literacy. I was very an advocate for structured literacy in our community. But anyways, I reached out to the doctor out of the University of Connecticut, I would say about 13 years ago now, with this idea of embedding this technique into books. And I asked her, is this a crazy idea? And she said, no, this is a wonderful idea. So then I did tons of research, cross-linguistic research. It evolved into what is now NoAText.
It's amazing. And you mentioned when you said someone should come up with this. Well, that someone was you. You. Nobody was going to do it but you. And that is amazing. You saw a problem with your son struggling. And instead of just saying, hey, get to work harder, you saw that he needed help. And you took it upon yourself to do that and to help them. And now you're helping other young people who are struggling. Do you remember the first time you saw a child light up because NoAText helped them read with more confidence?
It's interesting because as the person that developed this and researched it, I've seen a lot of kids light up, but I've always been hesitant in being excited about that. Right? Because it's like, okay, there are a lot of specialized fonts out there that people will look at them and say, oh, this really helps me. And they get excited about it. And then, they work with it for a while and it really doesn't, So for me, it really was watching them follow through with it, seeing kids, being able to read words fluently and that I know they wouldn't be able to otherwise without NoAText. Seeing them finish books that I know they wouldn't otherwise with NoAText. And that started happening in 2016. That's when I started seeing that, experiencing that. It was very exciting. That's when I released my first set of books in NoAText.
And that way, when a child has a book that maybe is, almost 1,000 pages, I don't know, like Harry Potter or something like that, but they really want to read that, and maybe a parent might say, oh, that's not your reading level. How, because like in middle school, it can be a make or break for readers.
Oh, yeah.
But how does NoAText support kids at that tricky stage? And when some young people start to feel reading isn't for them?
Well, it really carries them because it provides stamina. It provides that ability to code those words in books that they normally would struggle with. So it really gets them over that foundational literacy piece to that more authentic book piece, right? It really carries them through and helps them with that. But you're right, that is the time when we lose them, right? A lot of kids get stuck at that 4th, 5th grade reading level. And research shows that students are exposed to 10,000 new words in print every year that they've never been exposed to. So you can imagine if you're stuck at that 4th grade reading level and you're hitting 5th, 6th grade dealing with all those new words in print. So again, NoAText carries them through, giving them the stamina, the ability to read more accurately, so that will help them comprehend more readily and giving them that confidence and feeling good.
And that's always a bonus, especially when they get over that feel of difficulty when reading. reading challenges from low literacy rates to a lack of interest are prevalent in our society. But in your opinion, what are we missing in the way we support struggling readers?
So there's a lot out there about the science of reading. And, I was involved in fighting for phonics 23 years ago when my son was struggling to learn to read because his school system wasn't teaching, words explicitly and systematically, exposing him to those critical word patterns.
Can I interrupt for a second?
I'm sure.
Sorry. Yes, well, I want to bring up that point. You mentioned phonics. So when I was and this was many years ago, when I was in undergrad, because I majored in elementary education, phonics was being pulled from schools, from lessons. And I didn't understand that. Growing up, when we were growing up in school, that was a necessity. And I saw that because you were able to sound out words, you were able to, anyway, I didn't want to interrupt you, but you mentioned phonics, and I don't understand why that was taken away from schools.
It's very sad. And many kids didn't get that in the early years, the structured literacy, enabling them to, teaching them how to decode words, teaching them how to crack the code. So they have cracks in their foundation. So we need to go back and fill those cracks in, essentially, strengthening the foundation for those students that struggle. And so my son did get a structured literacy program after I turned to, the person I told you, her name is Dr. Miriam Cherkis-Jolkowski, who is my mentor and advisory board member, who I just adore to this day. So a lot of students didn't get that. They need that, fill in the cracks. But even with getting that, like I mentioned, cracking the code, we teach them to crack the code. The code is huge. There are 470,000 words in our dictionary. And we're not teaching all the words, but we're teaching them the strategies to attack those words. But we do need scaffolds like Noah Text to also enable them to have the practice they need to become fluent with reading. It's just like learning an instrument. You need a lot of practice to become good at it.
Yeah.
And for some students, they can they can learn those foundational skills and can practice without a scaffold and just take off. But a lot of students need a scaffold. It's like training wheels, right?
Right.
You're learning to ride a bike. That's what Noah Text can do for students. And there are other forms of scaffolding, teacher strategies. But this is one that they can use independently in books. But we need to provide more programs for older students that haven't gotten the instruction that they needed early on.
A lot of those students that maybe slip through the cracks and have given up with reading altogether, or maybe learning altogether. But it's so important because reading will take you far. I mean, you need to fill a resume out. You need to, there's so many, and we have adults who who were in classrooms, but they struggled so much and they didn't have that foundation, and to enable them to want to continue reading. And so I'm glad to hear about, Noah Text is really making those strides. Now, when some people hear innovation in reading and immediately think tech, but Noah Text is also about the page itself. How do you explain that unique mix of tradition and innovation?
So when I released Noah Text formally in 2016, it was in a set of print books. By 2021, however, I was able to build the technology with great software, a great programmer, technology such that we have conversion tools. And I actually provide those for free online. You can paste in text, or you can upload Word docs and put it into Noah Text. We have hundreds of teachers that that tech tool every day, uploading worksheets, articles. And then we also have Chrome and Firefox browser extension, so you can navigate the web and have everything in no text. So I see it, the mix of technology, it's like large print, right? So you have large print books that you can access at the library and bookstore, but you also, through technology, through digital books, you can adjust the print to make it large print.
That's incredible. That is wonderful. I mean, this is just amazing. And also having them in the Firefox and what about Safari? Did you mention Safari?
So it's a Chrome extension.
Oh, Chrome. Okay.
A Chrome browser extension. And that's what people use mostly. We have a lot of users.
Who uses, am I that old? Who uses Safari, right? Okay.
No, I use it on my phone. All the time.
That's helpful. That's good. Sarah, if you could redesign how kids everywhere first learn to read, what would you change?
Again, everyone should have explicit systematic instruction, structured literacy, evidence-based instruction. That would be it.
That would. I totally agree. Yes. Now I'm going to ask you, because you're, like I said, you're a wonderful person. You are an entrepreneur and creator.
Thank you. You are too, Annisha.
Oh, okay. I'll take that. But I'm not an innovator. I'm not an entrepreneur. You are, and also a literacy advocate. You are. What does your day look like? Coffee, Zoom calls, brainstorming new ideas?
Oh my gosh. I'm all
day in the life.
I am all over the place. So we meet with a lot of publishers, trying to get publishers to provide books in no text. That's a big thing I present to publishers, and we're getting a lot more interest. And we do have some publishers that we work with, but it's expanding out. It's very exciting. It used to be we would call them, and now they're starting to call us recently, which is pretty cool.
Very cool.
As well, presenting to companies that provide reading platforms. Because we do, through our technology development, we do have what you call an API. So, a company that has a digital product could put our technology embedded into their program readily, which would be, it's phenomenal to be able to do that. In fact, one of the companies that we partner with is Kids Discover. They provide social studies and science. You're familiar with them? They have no text as a toggle, which is phenomenal because think of all those difficult words that students access when they're reading, an article about biology or history. There's all these, complex words that they don't normally read, and they can, boom, put it in no text. Okay, I veered off a little bit. So that's one thing, talking to publishers, talking to teachers. I do webinars, I do lots of presentations, keeping up with the technology, making sure everything's running smoothly, modifying books, updating our dictionary, adding more books for our bookstore. We have our own collection of books. I also partner with a nonprofit called New Century Education Foundation, where we've created a specialized multi-component intervention whereby everything is in no text. We created that with researchers from Michigan State University, and we studied that as a group, and I meet with them a lot. And we've had phenomenal results. We've had middle schoolers through high school, through prison inmates using this software. And we've had phenomenal results. Students, prison inmates that, are the amount of dyslexia in our prisons is just astounding. And illiteracy in our prisons is just horrendous. A lot of prisons provide education programs to get them to hopefully pass their high school equivalency, and we help them with that to get them over that hump. So
it's amazing. I love hearing that. And you're right. You can't like I mentioned previously, adults, they struggle and they need help as well. And seeing that Noah Text is doing that is just phenomenal. That's awesome. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Sarah, where do you see Noah Text in 5 years? Classrooms across the country, library shelves everywhere, maybe even internationally?
I hope everywhere. That's my goal. I want it to be everywhere. I would love to see a Noah Tech section in every library, in every bookstore, just like large print books. I have heard that through the years from people that work, teachers that work with Noah Text have often said, this needs to be, a special section in the library, in the bookstore. I've heard that repeatedly. And I do believe that. And I want it on all these digital platforms to make it reading more accessible.
Yes, and you're making so many strides. You had mentioned when you first started to where you are now. I see that happening. I see it. It's going to happen.
And I
Take
think,
my word for it.
thank you. Thank you. And I think what people should realize, if they don't struggle, people that are listening, because sometimes when you don't struggle with something, it's hard to put yourself in that position, right?
Yeah.
So think of it this way. If you're struggling with decoding words, how can you comprehend what you're reading? So much is going on. It's exhausting. And a lot of students that struggle with reading, that have dyslexia, they get overloaded. Their working memory gets overloaded. It's this huge cognitive load. And speaking is natural, right?
Right.
Reading is not. This is a man-made system. So it's not natural. So we're learning a man-made system, and English is more complex than most languages. We're a melting pot language. 50% of our language is a foreign origin. So it takes our kids a lot longer to learn, needing more practice. So that's why this scaffolding that we're providing, and it's so simple. It really is. And the simplicity is what makes it work.
It does. It makes it work. It doesn't have to be complicated, right?
No, it's the simplicity that makes it so useful.
Very useful. Now, Sarah, what would success look like for you? When will you know Noah Text has genuinely changed the game?
I am starting to see Noah Text listed on IEPs and 504s as accommodations and modifications. I would love to see that being more of a standard, where it's everyone's, in that whole thought process in IEP meetings that Noah Text could help the student. We should put this in the plan. Again, if I could walk in every bookstore and every library and see it there, that would be success.
Wonderful. And if you could hand middle grade readers one book printed in Noah Text, what would you choose and why?
Oh my gosh. It's so funny because really my goal is having them being able to choose, right? As a librarian, you see this, right? Like, there are so many books that student can't access, but they want to access, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, I want them to be able to read anything and everything, right? But I can tell you what teachers have said to me. They've often said to me that they would love to see, oh my God, what is the author's name? There's two of them. Oh, the Percy Jackson series, Rick Riordan has written, right? Because the main character, Percy Jackson, has learning differences.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't read the book. Maybe you have. You're familiar with
it? Yes.
And then the Hank Zipser. Is it Hank Zipser?
Hank Zipser. Yes.
Again, because the main character is dyslexic, I think, right?
He is.
That would be really cool to see those books in Noah Text, and for the student that struggles, to feel good about that book, because of the characters, identifying with struggles, And then also have Noah Text helping them to get through it would be phenomenal.
Sarah, this has been so much fun, and I want to thank you for being on Reading in the Middle. Our listeners, you're learning so much about Noah Text, and Sarah, is there a way that if they want to learn more, where can our listeners go to find out more about Noah Text?
Go to noahtext.com.
Wonderful. Again, thank you. It was a pleasure for being on the show.
Oh, thanks so much, Annisha, for having me. It was a pleasure to do this with you.
That was Sarah K. Blodgett, the founder and CEO of Noah Text, a company dedicated to making reading more inclusive and joyful for everyone. What I love most about this conversation is Sarah's belief that reading shouldn't be painful. It should be empowering. And with Noah Text, she's proving that sometimes the smallest changes on a page can make the biggest difference in a life. To learn more about Noah Text, visit noahtext.com. That's NOAHTEXT.com. And don't forget to check out Reading in the Middle wherever you get your podcasts. If you enjoyed today's episode, please share it with an educator, librarian, or parent who believes, like we do, that every child deserves to fall in love with reading. I'm Annisha Jeffries. Thanks for listening, and remember, keep reading, keep imagining, and keep discovering stories waiting for you right in the middle.